So, Nini, we've got the nominations for the Baftas. What are your headlines?
Well, you know, the first big obvious headline is there's going to be a new presenter. Stephen Fry, after 12 years, is stepping down because he wants someone else to have a go. And the person they've chosen, not surprisingly, is a woman in the current climate. It is Joanna Lumley, of course, an alumni and award receiver of Bafta. And she was announced this morning at the nominations, so she's taking over. And she pointed out it's a pretty good year to be a woman presenting the Baftas, 100 years since women began to have the vote. And we're going to be hearing a lot of stories about women and the vote this year. So it's a pretty strong statement by Bafta. Also, what I would normally be saying to you is astonishing year for British films. I mean, look at those nominations. 4 out of the 5 Best Actor nominations, they are British. Gary Oldman leads the way, of course. 3 out of the 5 Best Picture nominations, they are British. One of the leading films in terms of nominations, up with 9 nominations, is a British independent film, which is 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. It was the big winner at the Golden Globes. So ordinarily, it would simply be an extraordinary year potentially for British film, and we'd be focusing on that. But obviously, there's a few other things going on in the industry, as we know.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we saw at the Golden Globes, didn't we? All the women wearing black and the hashtag Time's Up and so on. This is really significant, isn't it? This is the big subject that everybody is talking about this year.
Inevitably. I mean, I thought it was quite interesting. I covered the Golden Globes, and normally Gary Oldman won Best Actor. That's a real great coup.
But it hardly made the headlines at all,
I didn't make the headlines. Didn't even mention it because there was so much other, you know, newsworthy stuff going on with the Golden Globes. Now, Bafta has said they anticipate that people will use the podium to talk about things other than thank you for this, I'd like to thank my producer or the director. They anticipate it and they accept it. I mean, it's not the first time this would have happened at Bafta. People have used that podium to talk about things like the licence fee, for example, and they know this is inevitably going to happen. There's been no word yet on whether people are being asked to wear black. But inevitably, closer to the time, this is likely to happen. It'll be up to people to make that decision. But I would imagine from the off, again, we will see the burning issues in the wake of the sexual harassment scandals determining what a lot of people say when they get on that stage, and rightly so, I think.
But what about the nominations themselves? The good news is there are some very, very strong female roles, aren't there?
There are some really good, strong female roles in front of the camera. I mean, you know, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Frances McDormand, isn't it?
Frances McDormand, who rightly won the Best Actress at the Golden Globe. She's the favourite also for the Baftas and for the Oscars. A stunning performance from her. We have The Shape of Water with British actress Sally Hawkins. She's up for an award. There are a whole host of very, very strong female roles, female-led stories, smaller stories. Of course, we've got things like Dunkirk and The Darkest Hour. But it's very interesting this year that there are some smaller, personal, female-led stories that are in there. So it potentially could be a very good year for women in front of the camera. Now, the issue, of course, is women behind the camera, as it has been for many, many years. We saw at the Golden Globes, of course, Natalie Portman very pointedly said, here are the all-male nominees for the Best Director. Now, it's quite surprising that at Bafta they're facing the same issues. There are no female nominees in the Best Director categories. This has alarmed a lot of people because this is a year when you've got films like Lady Bird by Greta Gerwig, which has been very, very well received. You've got a Wonder Woman, female director, Mudbound. So there's lots of good films out there.
What's the thinking behind that, Nida? Because you think, well, this year of all years, they would... Yeah. Making it, I mean, there's only ever been one female winner, hasn't there? Catherine Bigelow. Only one.
And the same with the Oscars. I mean, it takes a long time to make a film. It takes a long time to commission a film, get the director, get the money. We're talking years and years and years. So a lot of these films were set in motion many years ago, before these scandals really started burning and before people started saying, where are the women? Where's the gender diversity? Where's the racial diversity? These things, this is possibly the last year I think we're going to see this. I really do think this, that in the years to come, we're going to see things very, very differently, and people will be making, females will be making an impact in front of the camera, and they're trying to get this in the industry. Bafta is announcing a new set of guidelines about working practices, and this is joined by lots of industry bodies. So there's a real will to change the way the film, TV and the gaming industry works, to give more diversity in many, many fields, and we'll probably only see the fruit of that in years to come, I think.
Just a final question on this, because today is the first day of the Oscar voting, isn't it? How much do you think the BAFTAs ever influence the Oscars, and what do you think we might see there?
I think they do influence the Oscars. I think that some of the voters overlap, so inevitably there is an influence there. The shape of Water has the most nominations. It has 12 nominations. It's a fantasy film. They don't tend to do very well. So it'd be really interesting to see what Bafta does with that film, whether it walks away with any awards. It only walked away with 2 at the Golden Globes, despite being the film with the most nominations. So that will be very interesting to see. There's quite a heavy British influence in the Bafta nominations today. I'm not sure we'll see the same thing with the Oscars, but we'll certainly see the same kind of statements made on the stage about the state of the industry. It's inevitable.
All right, and change is coming, you reckon? All right, Nannar, thank you very much indeed.